I created an AI lead scraper that generates 1,000 leads for 41 cents. And it sends them an automated personalized email sequence on autopilot. And today, you're gonna walk away knowing how to build one for yourself or how to build and sell to a client. I help builders and freelancers land their first high-ticket AI automation client and build scalable businesses. If you want to learn how to build a sustainable $10,000 a month AI automation business, click the link down below and join my free school community. There you can take part in my free 4-week challenge to land your first AI automation client. Now let's dive in. All right, this is the lead scraper that I built. So basically the way it works, right now it's on a manual trigger, but it's going to call this Apify actor that scrapes YouTube channels. So for this particular workflow, I am targeting business owners, business coaches, real estate coaches, other types of professional coaches, B2C, on YouTube. And so the Apify actor is going to scrape their channel information. So that means their channel name, channel URL, and channel description. I'm then going to use that information to create a record in Airtable. So as you can see, I already have a bunch of leads in here. And then that connects to an AI agent. And what this agent is going to do is it's going to take in the channel name, the channel description. And so basically what this is doing is it's grabbing the YouTube channel creator's name and email address from the description and from the channel name. So here is all of the information that this agent has. You're going to be responsible for analyzing YouTube channel info and classify creators by geographic location and extract contact details and names and then update Airtable records with this classification data. So it's going to receive the input, it's going to extract the email, the creator name and first name determination, and then it's going to check the location based on information that's in the description of the channel. So I'm only targeting US, UK, and Canada for this particular email sequence. And so basically if it has something where it's like, I live in Bali or something like that, then it's going to exclude or categorize those creators as non-US. So even though Canada and UK are not US, it's still going to categorize them as US just for the purposes of ease in this categorization. Then this if statement is going to filter out anything that is not US. So if it is US, it's going to pass it along and then loop through the items. So then it's going to go through one at a time and create a personalized email that's going to go to each creator. So again, this model is receiving the channel name, the creator first name, and the classification. This is just a backstop or a double check to ensure that no non-US creators get through. Then there's going to be a 4-minute wait in between each email send, and that's just for deliverability, so I don't get flagged or blocked when I'm sending my emails. It's going to send the email from me. It's going to the creator's email, and it's going to say subject line is collaboration opportunity for the first name of the creator, and then it's going to have the HTML email message with the N8N attribution turned off. Then it's going to update Airtable to show that the first email has been sent, and also it's going to send a copy of that email. Just a quick heads up, if you're someone looking to scale your AI automation business to $10,000 a month by positioning yourself as a consultant, I put together a free guide that walks you through exactly how to do that. So if you want my free guide, just fill out the quick form in the description below and then get back to the video. And so I want to do this a little bit differently than instead of doing the click by click, play by play, here's how you build it. I want to show you that I'm actually using this for outreach and lead generation. And so, like I said, I already have a bunch of leads here in my Airtable database, and now I'm going to be scraping a different type of creator. So I'm going to come in here to my Apify request. This is the name of the scraper that I'm using. It's YouTube channel information scraper from API Dojo. It's fantastic, easy to use. I highly recommend it. But I'm going to scroll down past my API key, and I'm going to show you what the JSON query looks like that is responsible for generating these results. So basically this is the equivalent of going to YouTube and searching for business coach. So actually let's go over to YouTube so I can show you. Okay, so if I come into YouTube and type in business coach, and then I come up here to filters and I click channel. So now I'm just looking at channels with business coach as a keyword. Then you can see all of these different YouTube creators that are business coaches. So this is fantastic. If you have an offer where you are targeting other business owners. So that could be business coaches, that could be people teaching e-commerce, people teaching marketing, whatever the case is. But there is so much opportunity to partner with those people and offer them something valuable that's not just going to be you selling to that creator, but building something in conjunction with that creator that they can sell to their audience. And so that's kind of the idea behind this outreach that I'm sending. Okay, so I've already pulled in a bunch of results for business coach. And so I'm going to change this to real estate coach. I noticed that the country code was in there as US. I went ahead and removed that because I don't care if they're in the US or not. I just want to, as a broad first stroke, make sure that the channel language is English. Okay, so I'm going to click save. Okay, so we went ahead and clicked run. So our Apify actor is in here doing its thing. If we come back over here to runs, we can see that it pulled 509 results for 25 cents. So pretty fantastic. Now it's updating Airtable. So I have this set to create or update a record because someone might be a real estate coach, but also a business coach. So they might show up under multiple different search terms, but I don't want to have duplicate records and then send them duplicate emails. And so that's the reason for this being a create or update record node in Airtable. So while that is going on, so if we scroll down, you can see all of these new records are being updated. You can tell they're new because they don't have a creator name, first name, or email like these top records do that I already had in there. Now, really quick, while we wait for these other 500 records to populate, I want to show you kind of what these different views are. So not contacted is the grid view, so all of the leads, but it's filtered by email 1 has not been sent, so we haven't emailed them yet, and the email is not null, meaning there's a valid email address in there for us to send them an email to. And where the classification is US or the classification is null, meaning the classification is US and that the way that that breaks down within the context of the workflow, which I will show you in the node so you can kind of understand and it makes sense a little bit more. But the classification agent in N8N will classify them as US if they are in the US, Canada, or the UK, and if the agent is able to determine the email address based on the creator's description on their channel. They will classify them as null if they're in the US, Canada, or UK, but they're not able to grab that email address from the description, in which case I'm going to hand it off to my VA and she's going to go through the process of manually getting that email address. Then we have a new view which is called null emails, and so this is the classification is null where the email is null or the email is blank. So this is the list of creators that my VA is going to use, and she's going to just click here to open up their channel. Then she's going to click on their description, scroll down, click view email address, say she's not a robot, and then click submit. Now I'm not going to dox this gal, but it's a really simple process. Then she's going to come back over and update the email address in here. So this record would fall off of this view and it would come down here to null emails, email added. And now I'm going to build a second workflow, so stay tuned for that, but where it's going to automatically grab the people who are coming into this view once a day and then, kicking off this whole process to send them emails as well. Okay, so let's check back in on our lead scraper. So right now our AI agent is doing its classification. So if we come back to our Airtable database and go to grid view, we're going to start to see this classification pop up right here. What I've noticed is that it will classify everything first and then it will go into Airtable and start making the updates. So we have a little bit of time to wait. So let's come back over to Airtable real quick so I can finish describing what these views are. And then finally, we'll have the contacted view, which is just the grid view filtered by if the email 1 sent contains yes, and where classification is US or classification is null. So basically this is going to be everyone with a correct classification that we've reached out to, they're going to live here. And that's just so that we can kind of keep track of people. So like I said, my virtual assistant who works in the Philippines, she's going to come in here to null emails, and this is kind of going to be her workspace. So she's going to come in, open up each YouTube channel, add the email address, and then that's going to eventually kick off another workflow that's going to send emails to all these folks. I forget the name of the site, but there's like a fairly well-known site where you can hire Filipino VAs, editors, graphic designers, like all kinds of things for a fraction of the cost of what you would be paying someone here in the US. And I mean, I think I've worked with her for 4 years. She's fantastic. So I'll drop the name of the site in the description, but let's say you're generating leads for a business. The business doesn't care if the leads are generated through an automation fully or partially through an automation and partially through a VA. all through a VA, they don't care. They just want to know that they have a steady flow of leads coming through the door. So if anyone out there feels like this is cheating or this isn't really automation, yes, it is. And I promise you, people will pay the same for leads that are generated by a VA and leads that are generated by automation. As long as they don't have to touch it, they don't have to deal with it, businesses will pay for leads. Okay, so she's about 40% of the way done with all her classifications. I'm going to take a quick break and I will come back and we'll check on her and see where she's at with the classification. Okay, she is almost done with the classification, and then she's going to go in and update everything in Airtable. So if we come back to the grid view, we can see that she's updating everything. So I'll talk more about exactly how this works, but Null means it's a US creator, US, UK, Canada, that does not have an email address that she could locate in the description. Non-US means we're not targeting them. US means they're US based or UK, Canada, and they have an email address. So she's going through and categorizing all of these, and then she's going to also categorize the creator name and the first name and the email if it is available. So like right down here for Monica, we have her email address available. All right, and she is pretty quick. So we're actually using GPT 5.1. So you can see we're getting a couple email addresses, so that's awesome. And she's getting closer and closer to the top. So there's a good amount of leads in here that she's going to be running through and classifying. Okay, so now she's almost done updating Airtable records. Then it's going to run through this if node. Okay, so now it has run through the if node. So we are looking at 487 items. Now it's entering the second part of this workflow, which is looping through each item, looking it up in Airtable, messaging a model that will generate the personalized email to that creator. Then it's going to wait for 4 minutes, send an email, update Airtable to say, hey, email has been sent and here's a copy of it. Then it's going to loop back around to the next item. So this is going to be running for quite a while. But what I want to do is look at this workflow more closely using a real execution. Okay, so I just kind of imported the real execution that is taking place right now. So let's go ahead and just go through node by node so you do know how to build this and you can customize it for your own use case. So let's start with the Apify HTTP node. And for anyone that is looking to just import this as a blueprint, I'm going to have the blueprint available in my free school community, so you can click the link down below and get that. But this is the URL that we're using for this Apify actor, which by the way is just pay per usage. So there's not like a monthly charge for it. So literally it's like 25 cents for 500-600 leads. But you want to make sure that you're running synchronously to get the dataset items. Your token is going to be your API key, which obviously this is just a placeholder. But the reason for this, that you want to include this in here, is it's because it's going to actually allow the N8N workflow to run. So if you don't run it synchronously, it's going to do it asynchronously, meaning you'll have to go into Apify and download the list of leads from there, which would be a massive pain in the butt and really manual. So it's really important that you remember to add this to the end of your URL. Okay, so we want to send query parameters, and you're going to include token and then your API key. Again, this is just a placeholder. Now we're going to scroll down. You're going to be sending body content type is JSON, using JSON, and then you're going to use something like this. Obviously, it's going to be slightly different depending on who it is that you're targeting, but basically whatever you would search for on YouTube is what would go right here. So whether that's real estate coach or financial coach or insulation company, but you're going to put that query term right in here, and all of this is just going to be fixed. Okay, so now I have an edit fields node. The reason why I have this is because if you add any kind of filters, so let's say you wanted to add a filter step in here where it's filtering out any YouTube creator with less than 300 followers. You want to have an edit fields node because that's going to ensure that you don't have any mismatches between the indices that you're bringing through from the HTTP request. So by that, I mean, and this is something that I learned by testing, but let's say I'm, filtering out specific creators, like specific names of creators like Tony Robbins. I don't want to email him. You know what I mean? So if I'm adding a filter node between my HTTP request and my create or update a record in Airtable node, then I want to add this edit fields node. And this is the expression that you want to use for clean URL. And so all that is basically their channel name with their handle. But the reason for this is it's going to normalize the URL. So even if there's a capital M in Mike or something like that, it's going to make everything all look the same. And the reason why that's important is because when we go to upsert a record in Airtable, it's comparing apples to apples. So we don't want to have Mike capital M be a different record in Airtable and be generating another email to this guy as Mike lowercase m. So that's the reason for this expression. And then we're also bringing across the channel name and the description. So it's keeping those items all grouped together per record. Hopefully that makes sense. But then we are going into create or update a record in Airtable. This is from my base YouTube Biz Coaches from the table leads. Now, the column that I'm matching on is actually URL. So let me move myself out the way. So again, that just speaks to why it's important that we have this clean, normalized URL, because again, if this was capital M Mike or lowercase m Mike, and it's matching based on that URL, it's going to create 2 records and send 2 emails. We don't want that. So make sure you're matching on URL. You're providing the clean URL from your set node, the channel name, and description. And that's all you need for this node. Okay, now we will come in here to our AI agent. So we are providing this input, channel name and channel description. And this is just coming straight from our Airtable node that's right before this. So let's look at the system message that I created in full. So again, this agent's responsibility is classifying based on their location and also grabbing the creator name, their first name, and their email address if it is visible in the description, and then updating Airtable with it. And so we're providing the input data structure and the task workflow beginning with email extraction. So the agent is carefully scanning the channel description, and then it's looking for these patterns that are commonly associated with email addresses. Then it's looking for creator name and first name determination, because this is going to be used to personalize that email that's going out to them. So it's just giving some examples of their personal name and how that might appear within their description. It's also telling it how to determine first name based on their full name if it is given in the channel name or the description. And then it's specifying how to check the geographic locations. So it's checking for countries, cities, or regions, non-English language content or cultural references, time zone mentions, like it's getting real detailed with what it's checking. And then it's going to classify each creator based on their location and whether or not there's an email address available for them that was found in the description. So if the creator is US, let's just call US, UK, Canada, US creators for the purposes of this explanation. But if they are outside of the US, then they're categorized as non-US, meaning we don't need to reach out to them. If they are in the US, UK, or Canada, and they have an email, they're classified as US. If they're in the US, but they do not have an email that's in the description, and my VA will have to go locate it manually on their YouTube channel, they're marked as null. So that just means they're in the US, but they don't have an email in the description. We'll have to do that by hand. And then if no clear location indicators exist, then it's just going to assume that they're in the US, UK, or Canada. Next, the instruction is telling the agent that it always needs to update Airtable regardless of anything else, regardless of classification, whether there's an email, etc. And it's telling it exactly what fields to update and with what. I had Claude Opus help me with these system instructions because they were a little bit more logically complex, and so I wanted to ensure that the way that I was explaining it to Claude that was better articulated so that Claude knows how to talk to an LLM better than me. And so I was pretty happy with the output. Like I said, I'm using GPT 5.1 just because it is a little bit more logically complex. And then the update Airtable tool, it's set to update a record from my base and my table. It's matching on the ID, which is coming in right over here. Then because I was so specific in my system instructions about the creator name, the first name, the email, and the classification, the 4 things that I asked the agent to update, then I was able to let the model automatically define those 4 fields. All right, just real quick, let's go back and check over on the live scraper that's running. So right now it's in its wait step, no surprise there. It's sent 1 email so far, so that's pretty great. All right, now we move to the if node. So if the JSON output, so this is coming from the agent. So we ask the agent to update Airtable and also provide this output. But if that output is equal to US, then it's true. We want to keep it because those are the creators that are in the US and have an email address that we can send an email to. So we're expecting to send 22 emails today. Okay, so next we'll move to loop over items. So this is just a batch size of 1. So the if node, the true branch, is going to connect over to loop over items, and then it's going to run through the second part of this workflow, and then the update record, which is the last step, is going to loop back around to loop over items. So next we have the search records node. So this is going to be search records from the same base and table. This time we are filtering by formula. So where the channel name equals that specific channel name. And where this expression came from is the create or update a record node. And then this one right here, this channel name. So we added that search record step so that we would have the record ID associated with anything that made it through to this loop over items node so that we could update the record at the end of this part of the flow. All right, so next we are messaging a model. This one is just GPT-4o. So I have my user prompt, which is just text, and that's going to be the channel name, the creator first name, and the classification. So even though we already used an if node to filter out any classifications that were non-US, we just added this in here as like an extra check or a backstop to ensure that we're not, wasting bandwidth on sending emails to people who are outside of who we're targeting. Again, all of these expressions are coming from the previous node, so the search records node. So the channel name, scroll down, the creator first name, and the classification. And I also added a system prompt, so if we expand this, so this is where it has the instructions to generate the personalized email. So you're an AI agent responsible for generating personalized cold email outreach content for YouTube creators who have been classified as US, meaning they're in the US, UK, Canada, and have an email address. You're going to receive the following inputs: channel name, creator first name, classification. So step one is just verify the classification. If it's not US, output error, invalid classification. Then it's going to generate this personalized email. So now in HTML format, I provided my outreach message. So the agent is going to change this to the creator's first name. I have my outreach message and then the output format. So output only the HTML formatted email. No code fences or backticks, no additional text or explanation. You know how ChatGPT likes to get wordy. Replace first name with the actual creator first name provided. Then it provides a sample output, critical reminders, just to make sure that it's in the right format and it's only going to the right folks. And I do have simplify output toggled on. Next, I have a 4-minute wait step. So this is pretty self-explanatory. Wait 4 minutes in between each send. And the reason for that is I don't want to send, a bunch of emails all at the same time and get flagged. So that's just like a safety precaution. All right. And then if I come in here, so it looks like this step hasn't been executed according to what we pulled in and pinned. So I'll just describe what each of these is. From email. So I don't use Google. I don't use Google Workspace for sending professional domain emails. So this is how you would structure it. You can also replace this with like a Google node, whatever your email provider of choice is. Then the reason why I include it in this format is that way it's going to show as Lindsay Gonzalez sent the email, followed by my email address with these brackets. Otherwise, if I were to just put my email address in here, it would just say it was sent by Lindsay, lowercase l. So obviously that doesn't look very professional. But if you look at the expressions, these tell you exactly what node they came from. So when you're mapping these, this came from search records. So if I expand this over here, this came from this guy right here, this email address. Subject is collaboration op for the search records node and first name, which is down here. Then once again, the email format is in HTML. And this comes from our message a model. So if I scroll back up, it's this text right here. So you would just drag and drop that. Then I always add the option. So come in here, add the option and turn off append N8N attribution. Hate that they have that turned on as a default, but they're trying to do marketing. Okay, so back to the canvas for one final node, and that's the update record node in Airtable. So again, updating a record, same base and table. It's matching on ID. You can see once again, it's using the search records node for the ID with which to match. So if I open up the search records node, just dragging this guy across, updating the email one sent column just with yes, and that's fixed and not an expression. And then lastly, I'm updating it with the email that was actually sent. So that's coming back to the message a model node. Once again, I'm just dragging and dropping that text in there so I can see what was sent systematically and not just be guessing. So in case anything was funky, got messed up, etc., I can refer back to that. All right, let's head back over to our scraper that's actually sending emails right now and see how she's doing. Okay, so she's sent another email. Awesome. Generating another wait step right here. So that's pretty cool. And then let's come back over to our Airtable database. And I'm going to scroll all the way over to the right. So you can see John has received an email because we see the email 1 was sent. Yes. And then the body of the email is right here, and that corresponds to US, so we know that's working great. Same thing here, same thing here. So she's going to continue to work through those emails with a wait step in between. Now, obviously, we're using an Apify actor for this first step to scrape YouTube creators, but the sky's the limit. You could do Instagram accounts, you could do Facebook accounts, TikTok accounts, whatever the case is. There are so many different scrapers that you can use to generate leads for yourself or for a business, and then follow this exact process. You can send cold emails to folks that you scraped on Google Maps using an Apify actor, businesses that you find on Instagram that meet a certain search term. This skeleton workflow gives you something that actually works, that's going to generate that first email for you on autopilot. And then you can have a VA for $3-4 an hour go through and take, 3 hours, 4 hours tops, and get the rest of the email addresses and just have a system that's running constantly. All you have to do is feed it leads. Like I said, I am going to be building a follow-up to this that shows what that process looks like once my VA has acquired those new email addresses, how that process is going to kick off, as well as how I'm going to send follow-up emails and not just stop at one. Like, never stop at one. You should be sending like 5+ emails. I wanted to show you guys this in real time so that you can see that I'm actually using this in my business and not just teaching you something cool that I built that I thought was neat. Like, this is actually things that I do in the real world. Now you know how to build your own AI lead gen system that you can use to generate your own leads, or you can build this and sell to a client. And if you want to take part in my free 4-week challenge to land your first AI automation client, click the link below and join my free school community. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.